Have you ever wondered why the things we try hardest to deny often return with even greater force? It is entirely possible to be spiritually awake and still be consumed by the fire of desire. And what if the real enemy is not desire itself, but the way we relate to it? Alan Watts once said that the attempt to escape desire is, in itself, a form of desire. Nietzsche warned us, be careful when fighting monsters, lest you become one yourself. And the old Zen masters, when the subject of lust arose, simply smiled in silence. Have you ever felt this? After years of seeking the sacred, meditating, purifying the heart, you suddenly encounter a raw animal impulse, unexpected, burning, undeniable, as if something ancient still lives inside you, hidden but never truly tamed. That is where confusion begins. You thought you had moved beyond this. You believed spiritual awakening meant the end of temptation, the end of the flesh, the end of craving. But the truth is far more mysterious, far more beautiful, and far more human. This is an invitation to enter what few are willing to admit but everyone feels. We walk into the shadows of self-knowledge, where spirituality and desire are not enemies, but secret lovers. And perhaps, by the end, you will realize there is nothing wrong with you at all. Maybe the very fact that you still feel is proof that you are finally awake. This subject is rarely spoken of in spiritual circles. You can spend years reading the right books, meditating daily, attending silent retreats, and, still, in a moment of apparent calm, feel the unsettling presence of lust, not as a sin to suppress, but as a whisper rising from deep within, ancient, visceral, almost sacred. Curiously, this aspect of human experience becomes even more taboo among those who seek awakening. The higher the spirit is imagined to rise, the further the body is expected to fall away, as if true spirituality were synonymous with sexless purity, and desire a sign of failure. But what if that is not true? What few admit is that spiritual awakening does not eliminate impulses, it intensifies them. It is like turning on a powerful light in a room that was once dim. When the light comes on, you don't only see what is beautiful and subtle. You also notice the cracks, the dust in the corners, the traces of everything you tried to hide. Desire never disappeared. It was simply waiting backstage. And when awareness expands, it reveals itself fully raw, unfiltered, exposed. You do not desire less. You desire with greater clarity, greater intensity, greater consciousness. That can be frightening, because we were taught that desire and enlightenment are opposites, that pleasure distracts us from the path, that the body is a trap. But what if the body is the altar where the divine and the earthly meet? What if desire is not an egoic flaw, but life itself pulsing through us? In ancient traditions, sexual desire was often treated with suspicion. Monks avoided it. Masters remained silent. Devotees renounced it because the body reminds us of impermanence. It ages, it changes, it dies. To desire another body is to be reminded that everything we touch is temporary, that pleasure fades, that love can wound, and yet desire persists. Desire keeps us alive. It is a creative force, a longing for union, for transcendence through contact, through surrender, through meeting. Lust is not only hunger for pleasure, it is nostalgia for wholeness, as if the body knows often unconsciously that something divine lives in the skin of the other. But how can this be acknowledged on a spiritual path? Most choose silence, a heavy silence that echoes in temples and retreats, and in the hearts of seekers who feel guilt for feeling, who pretend purity while fighting their desires in secret. And this is where the shadow grows. What is not seen does not disappear. It strengthens in the dark. Perhaps the real mistake is not desire itself, but hiding it, pretending it isn't there, creating an inner split between a spiritual self and a desiring self, as if they were enemies rather than expressions of the same life. Recognizing this may be the beginning of liberation, not liberation from feeling, but liberation from the shame of feeling. Perhaps the desire you experience with awareness is purer than the desire that ruled you when you lived on autopilot. Perhaps, precisely because you are awake, you feel more embedded, and that is not a failure, it is the price, or the gift, of being fully alive. Before awakening, desire is present but hidden. It operates quietly, guiding actions and thoughts without being noticed. It is like an automatic pilot that takes control whenever attraction appears. You feel, you react, you act, fast, unconscious, mechanical. When awareness expands, everything changes. You begin to notice how desire arises in the body, how it warms the senses, how it infiltrates thought and feeds fantasy. Nothing goes unseen. You see the impulse, you see the mind trying to justify it, you see shame attempting to conceal it. This level of clarity can feel brutal, not because desire increases, but because you are no longer asleep enough to ignore it. Imagine living for years in a house with poor lighting. You know the layout, but not the dust, the cracks, the hidden chaos. Then bright lights are installed everywhere. Everything becomes visible, the beauty and the disorder. This is what awakening does to desire. Consciousness intensifies everything it touches. Many suffer here because they were taught that desire equals impurity, that a true spiritual person is untouched by such forces. This belief is not only false, it is cruel. Spiritual awakening is not numbness, it is radical aliveness. The senses sharpen, the heart feels more, the skin vibrates, the eyes notice subtleties once ignored, the soul is moved more easily, and so is the body. Desire appears not as an error, but as a natural consequence of presence. This is where many lose their way. They think something has gone wrong. They believe the awakening failed because it brought too many shadows along with the light. And so they repress, deny, and retreat from themselves. Spirituality becomes performance. The shadow grows silently. But perhaps the problem is not desire, it is the unrealistic expectation of purity. You are feeling more because you are more present, more alive, more whole. That discomfort is a disguised blessing. It is life saying, this too belongs, don't run, don't fight, observe. Yes, you will feel desire maybe more than ever, but now you can see it, understand its roots, notice its patterns. And in that space of awareness, something invaluable appears. The freedom to choose. Liberation does not come from killing desire, it comes from no longer being its prisoner. The body will still feel, the mind will still imagine, but you are no longer trapped inside the impulse. You are the silent witness who sees without being consumed. For centuries we were taught that the body is the villain of the spiritual path, that spirit is noble and pure, while the body is dirty and deceptive. This division is everywhere, in religion, in sacred texts, in ascetic disciplines. But this idea creates an impossible war, a fight against something inseparable from who we are. Have you ever tried to silence the body, suppress its impulses, treat its reactions as weaknesses? Perhaps you felt temporary relief, but what returned was stronger, darker, more insistent. This is the old story of repression turning into shadow. The more you fight the body, the louder it screams. The more you try to extinguish desire, the more it burns. And often it is the ego itself that dresses up as spirituality, proclaiming purity while hiding guilt and frustration beneath the surface. This is not transcendence, it is avoidance. There is no war between body and spirit. That war is a mental invention. The body is not an obstacle to awakening, it is a gateway. Through it, we feel, breathe, vibrate. Consciousness expresses itself in flesh. To deny the body is to deny the miracle of being alive. When the body is met with acceptance instead of judgment, something radical happens. The body reveals itself as sacred, not despite desire, but because of it. Every impulse, every sensation, every craving is life dancing into form. Yes, there is a part of you that observes, that transcends, that is pure awareness. But there is also the part that feels hunger, pleasure, sexual desire. Both are real, both are true, both are you. Freedom does not come from choosing one side of this equation. It arises when you stop choosing, when you allow both to exist in harmony. When you understand that you can be spiritual and deeply embodied, that you can meditate in the morning and desire someone at night, that the divine can live in silence and in burning touch. This integration ends the inner war. Spirit reconciles with flesh. There are no sides, only wholeness. Perhaps true freedom is not the absence of desire, but the courage to feel it fully without fear or shame. This idea is simple, yet revolutionary. In a world that confuses control with growth and emotional coldness with maturity, feeling is not the problem. Attachment is. Identification is. Believing you are the desire, rather than the space in which desire appears. You are not the fire. You are the space where fire dances briefly. True spirituality does not ask you to deny your nature. It invites you to hold it with awareness. Desire may arise. You may act on it or not. The point is not repression or indulgence, but consciousness. When you stop fighting what you feel, desire loses its power to dominate you. It comes and goes like a wave. You feel it fully, watch it pass, and remain whole. This is freedom, feeling everything without being owned by anything. The body, pleasure, arousal, all of it is sacred, not because it is pure, but because it is real. And everything real deserves presence and respect. You did not come here to float above matter. You came to be whole, to live the paradox, to carry light and shadow, instinct and awareness, desire and clarity in the same breath. The end of the fight is the beginning of freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to want deeply and still choose consciously. You do not need to extinguish the fire. You need to learn how to dance with it. What frightens us most is not desire itself, but the belief that spirituality requires abandoning it. But what if continuing to feel, especially after awakening, is proof that you are more conscious than ever? Awakening is seeing clearly, not only beauty, but discomfort, not only light, but the shadow revealed by light. Life is not made of unreachable purity. It is made of contradiction, intensity, movement. You are awareness and instinct. You tremble, desire, feel confused. This does not diminish you, it completes you. There is no error in feeling. The error lies in pretending you do not. The desire is not the enemy. The enemy is believing you must defeat it. When welcomed, desire softens. When rejected, it grows. Sit with the fire. Feel its warmth. No, it exists. No, you are more than it. The true awakening is not perfection, it is wholeness. Everything belongs, and in that belonging, freedom is born. You still feel desire. Excellent. It means you are alive, and life does not demand perfection, only awareness.